Welcome to QuaranTEA Break with Jen, the show where we talk about mental health. We sit back and have a cup of tea, and we interview friends and family around the nation and get a pulse on what's happening to them, what life is like in quarantine for them, and whatever else really that they want to talk about. So I'm going to start off with a poem because April is Poetry Month, and I'm going to read you a little Mary Oliver since I referenced her in the last video, and this is called The Journey, and I'm not going to shorten it because I just can't bring myself to shorten this poem. It's just so good. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. All right, now I'm going to give a recommendation for our Recommendations Corner and then talk about our guest. So my recommendation for today is that you go purchase or listen to, stream on Spotify, the album that was just released by Sean Watkins and Sarah Watkins. It's called Brother Sister. They're a California-based duo, but they originally were in Nickel Creek together, and then they have their own side projects. But yeah, they are releasing a record called Brother Sister, and it's great, so check it out. So my guest today, her name is Melissa Edminster. She's actually married to my cousin, Peter Edminster. She is a licensed clinical social worker who's worked for hospice and done a lot of different cool things in the social worker field. She also has 2 small children, and they are adorable. So we're going to talk to her a little bit about parenting in the time of quarantine and her work with hospice and whatever the hell else she wants to talk about. But we're also going to ask her what tea she's drinking, and I'll tell her what tea I'm drinking. So let's give Melissa Edminster a little FaceTime call. Hello!
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you? Welcome to QuaranTEA. This is Melissa Edminster.
I am so happy to be here.
Tell us what you're drinking.
Oh, I am drinking a chai tea latte of sorts.
Ooh.
It is a Spokane tea company called Winterwoods. Might not apply to everybody, but if you can make it to a Spokane tea retailer near you, I highly recommend it.
Oh, I love chai. That sounds wonderful.
It's highly caffeinated, which is needed right now, so.
Amen. So I am actually drinking recovery tea. My good friend Kyla sent this to me while I was pregnant, and I started drinking it immediately postpartum. And it's strawberry passion fruit, caffeine-free, and it's run by a woman named Amy Upchurch, and it is delicious, and it's supposed to help with recovering post-childbirth. So you can buy this online.
That sounds lovely.
It's delicious, and it is very
What do you think about
fruity.
it makes it good for recovery?
I'm not really sure, some kind of herbal concoction, so I don't know if it's good or not. It certainly tastes really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like it a lot. It's very fruity, tropical, so that's fun. So Melissa, tell us where you are.
I am here at my home in St. John, Washington. So it's a really, really tiny farming town in eastern Washington, south of Spokane. We've lived here since September. If you have any Sabra hummus in your fridge, those chickpeas probably come from basically our backyard. Just
No
a fun
kidding!
fact. Mm-hmm.
I've eaten that hummus
there's a ton of
often.
wheat and then garbanzo bean production here. So it's a really thriving farming community.
Wow.
And yeah, we moved here because Pete got his job here.
Yeah, so you guys are very rural, and I think I've mentioned this to you before, but I imagine right now it's not a bad place to be in terms of being able to socially distance. It's probably nice to have the space, right? Because here in California, we're kind of all crowding each other out.
I know. I think like the lack of density here is really it could only possibly help us.
Yeah.
You know, also our lifestyle, it was sort of quarantined before the quarantine. Like, I'm used to doing a weekly or bi-weekly grocery haul because we live very far from a big grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some things that have been really, like, prepped us well for this, I think. And, yeah, we're doing okay for that reason. Also, just having so much space has been really, really nice. And my husband, he's a doctor, as you know, and there hasn't been a single positive case of coronavirus from his clinic or his hospital. There have been some out of Pullman, which is the same county as us, but those are often related to the university. So it's been kind of nice. It's just been really slow, like a slow burnout here.
Yeah.
Hasn't really seen any kind of a flare, which has been really, really a big relief.
Good. That's a huge relief. So on a more serious note, I know you worked with hospice, and I imagine that a lot of people right now are experiencing loss or have already experienced loss. Can you speak at all to, you know, getting through a challenging time of losing loved ones, or based on your experience with hospice, maybe giving people some tools to cope, or any kind of advice that you have if people are experiencing grief?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's a really tough time. This is very abnormal as far as how most people are able to deal with any kind of a loss. Generally, we have groups and kind of like these sort of public ways of getting some kind of closure and having really concrete support, like a hug. And those things are kind of put on the back burner right now, which makes it really tough. Makes me feel worried for everybody who's having a loss right now, whether it's coronavirus related or not. It's a tough time. So I think, I don't know, I just really like leaning on the tools that we have available to us. So making those connections over whatever kind of technology you have, FaceTime, and then really trying to do whatever is going to heal you. And it's tough to find that stuff right now, but really like looking in and trying to find those things. Whatever's good for your soul, you have to kind of know that ahead of time and do those things. So if that means getting outside and, you know, gardening, I think can be really helpful. Going on walks.
Definitely.
Whatever's going to make you feel just grounded and okay for a little while.
Yeah.
But these are not normal times. I think people need to know that. I think that, you know, looking towards support people who can understand what you're going through is really, really helpful. And so I'd be interested to see if there are, like, you know, coronavirus grief online supports right now for people who are going through the same thing. If not, we should get something like that going, because it's a really specific, really strange time that I think is going to make it really complicated for a lot of people to be able to get some kind of momentum for going forward.
That's so true. I wonder, I am going to look and see if there's some kind of support group. I know something that was helpful for me when my grandfather passed away a few years ago was just writing a letter, even though he would never read it, but writing him a letter can be therapeutic. Writing your loved one a letter, and just talking about it as often as you feel like you need to do. So hopefully people have trusted loved ones they can talk to. But thank you for those suggestions. I also want to talk to you about, you have two kids at home, and I wonder if you have any tips or tricks or recommendations for just how to handle having small kids at home and being solo, because a lot of us are in that boat, and a lot of people are also working at the same time, which has got to be challenging, but just we'll take whatever tips you can give.
Oh gosh, I mean, I know it's spring, which is helpful, so just really, like I said before, getting outside as much as you can and kind of getting them some fresh air as much as possible, letting them play in dirt, and then really just trying to keep things for the kids as normal as possible, I think is helpful for them, which can only help parents. So trying not to expose them to any of the anxieties that are being kind of brought up in the media and that we are relaying onto them, I think is helpful. We've been trying to do that. What else?
Yeah.
Really, like, I don't know, my 3-year-old, it's just like from dawn until dusk, it is this imaginative play, imaginary stuff, and I don't know if it's because he's not being stimulated with friends and things in the community, but so we're just like trying to be really present with him and keep that going. For the parents, to help them, Lord, I don't know, it's just hard. Trying to take breaks, like, you know, Pete and I will try to, like, when he comes home, I can go do my thing, go for a run or a walk or whatever, away, because it's just so hard to do anything 100% of the time.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, so, and now you can't just, like, you know, ask a neighbor to watch your kids or get a babysitter or anything like that. So it's a really different time. Just trying to give yourself some space, I think, can be really helpful.
Yeah, and know that it's temporary, but we're definitely not designed to raise kids this way, right? Like, it takes a village, and they say that.
Bubble, it's so hard.
So burnout, I think, is really real, even for people who aren't working right now. So self-care is definitely important. I just ordered, one recommendation I do have is I just tried the KiwiCo box. Have you ever done those boxes?
I have not.
They're actually really great. So I looked into ordering a Love Every box, but they're a little more pricey. So the KiwiCo box is very reasonably priced, and they do age-appropriate toys and books for your kid. You enter their birth date and all that, and then they send you a box. And Nico's really loving it. So that is a recommendation that I do have.
That's so fun. My sister-in-laws and I have been sending little games and stuff to their nieces and nephews, and my sister-in-law Angie just sent Sam a little card with a little packet of zinnia seeds and said, you should go out and plant these with your mom. So we'll do that as soon as the last freeze happens here. So just sweet things like that have been really nice too.
That's so sweet. I love that. Well, Melissa, what an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. And I really hope we get to see you in person soon when this all blows over. And stay safe out there. And love you very much.
Love you.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course. It's my honor.
Give your sweet kiddos a kiss.
I will. You too. Tell Nico hi.
Okay.
Bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. All right, so that was Melissa Edminster, and tonight I'm going to do a special live episode with my husband, who thinks this is the silliest thing ever. So I'm going to interview him, and it's going to be fun. All right, thank you for tuning in. Cheers. Hope you had a nice time watching this and drank a nice hot beverage, and I'll see you next time.